Hello.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us today. And thank you for being here. Congrats on the publication of the book.
Thank you so much.
So
Yesterday?
Yes, yesterday. Already a bestseller.
Let's hope.
Yes. And this is your fourth cookbook.
My fourth book.
And this one focuses on vice and virtue. It's called Food Swings. This idea that maybe you eat pizza for dinner one night and then a salad the next. It's all about balance. What does a food swing look like for you in your life from day to day or week to week?
Well, I created this book because I find our fascination with food in this country really interesting. I know it hasn't always been like this, and I think that it's culturally an interesting thing right now where you're on social media or you're on the internet and you see, this wellness thing happening, and then you see people shoving their faces into chocolate cake and eating donuts, and there's just a really interesting thing that's happening in our culture. And so I was thinking about all these, the ongoing conversation I have in my head all day long, what I should eat versus what I want to eat, and how we spend so much time on that, and how exhausting that is. And so I just thought to myself, if I created a manual, or if I created, in this case, a book of the virtuous foods that I know I should be eating, and just as many in the section that I shouldn't be eating, I would feel like maybe I had structure to play with. And then for me, how I work is just within structure, I feel there is flexibility. So yeah, maybe some days a week I'll, really focus on the virtue section, and then a couple of other days of the week I'll live more in vice. But I just think like they're both essential. Virtue needs vice, and vice needs virtue. And so I looked for a cookbook that had this, and then I didn't find one, and so I created it.
And so many of the cookbooks out there are diet focused. Whole30, Paleo, there's a million of them. And they're very, very successful. But how do you want to get away from that? You say this specifically in the book, get away from that feeling of food as something to feel guilty about.
Yeah, I think we've just gotten to this place where we're just torturing ourselves. And I just got tired of that feeling. And I wanted to free my brain of why did I eat that? Okay, tomorrow morning I'm just gonna starve myself. And I just I don't wanna think about food anymore like that, because food is a real luxury to stress about. And I feel like if I have that much time to stress about food, something's wrong. So I created this book, and I don't have any guilt about any food anymore, because I always know I have something to go back to. I was actually having dinner with my friend last night who lost 30 pounds. And he's off right now, his program that he was on. And he said, what's so great about really committing to something and then being able to go off it is that knowing that you have that tool in your toolbox all the time. And so this is my toolbox. And I'm good now. I have no guilt. And so these books, I guess that's my point, really, is that I went to the bookstore. I was only seeing, really clean eating books. And I was like, there's no way that I will ever stay on a program like that. I don't know. I need flexibility. And so
even the phrase clean eating, what does that mean? It becomes sort of this moral issue.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that, because I was concerned in the virtue section of this book, all the recipes that are healthy, pretty healthy, to really healthy, but mostly pretty healthy. My version of clean is that you have a steak salad, because you're getting protein, you're getting greens, and you're really satisfied. And so to other people, I can imagine they're saying, oh, you're using red meat. Red meat is not clean. And so I just felt like, this is my version of clean. And that's fine. And everyone, that structure of you have to eat clean, I think will just send people down a spiral that they don't,
Yes.
want to be on.
It's about identifying what works for you.
Yes.
And you say that in the book. And the tone you strike is that, this is what I love. I hope you like it too.
Yes.
But this works for me and my family.
Yeah, I'm not pushing. I mean, my publisher would probably not want me to say that, but it's like, buy it, don't buy it. It's like, this is what worked for me. I shut that voice down. I feel so free, and I'm not gonna associate the word guilt with food ever again.
Backstage, they brought over these little cupcakes, and you shut it down immediately. Yes.
Well, it's also, what is it, 11 o'clock in the morning?
No.
Yeah.
You didn't shut down eating the cupcakes. The idea that, to clarify, they were like, oh, these are small. You don't have to feel guilty about them. And you said, don't.
The
Yes.
lovely gentleman who brought us the cupcakes, and he said, "Oh, they're so small, right?
You don't have to feel
You don't have
guilty."
to feel guilty." I was like, "I wouldn't
like,
feel
"You don't
guilty
ever
either
have
way."
to feel guilty.
Yes,
Yes.
That's been the great part of this book for me.
So what is your recipe testing process like? You come at this from a home cook's perspective.
Yes.
Tell me about
Never
that.
been to cooking school. I have been cooking. I've been putting dinner on the table for my family, whether it was my parents and my sisters, to now for 30 years. So I'm quite practiced at it, and it's something I prefer to do as opposed to going out to dinner. It's just the way I operate. It's just, I feel better that I can cook. I feel better that I can put food on my table. It's just, my parents raised me to get dinner ready while my mom was commuting. And so my mom taught me to cook on Post-it notes. And so I just continue that. So I hired this incredible woman named Sarah Quessenberry about 5-6 years ago for the Can't Cookbook, because I run a foundation. Like, my full-time job is the Good Plus Foundation. But I'm very interested in solving people's food problems because I have food problems and I want to solve them. So why would I not do it to help other people? Again, if you want the help, I'm not pushing you. So I hired Sarah because, again, I'm not sitting in my kitchen by myself, because this took me 3.5 years to do. Can you imagine if I didn't have someone help me?
Oh, so there are over 100 recipes, right? 125. It says
and
right
plus
there.
we have our website,
Yes.
jessicaseinfeld.com. It's so pluggy. But I'm so bad at this. Anyway, so Sarah went to cooking school. She doesn't have children. She goes to see foreign films and spends the weekend at farmers markets. I do not have that life or luxury at the moment because I have 3 kids. So, and another full-time job. So she and I sit together and we'll pass ideas like, I loved this, I'm not sure about this. And she'll come up with an idea and a base for a recipe. And I'll say, my people cannot cook with kohlrabi. They don't know what kohlrabi is because I don't know what kohlrabi is. We discussed this. I'm like defensively don't want to know what kohlrabi is. Because, I never read the book Eat, Pray, Love because everyone was reading Eat, Pray, Love at the time, and I just was late to the bandwagon.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm
I get it.
in defense of
Yeah.
Sarah and I sit there and go back and forth, and I take the recipe home and I cook it, and I say, we're gonna take this step out because my people don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that, or I'm not gonna spend the time on it.
Or I'm not going to run to 3 different stores to get this obscure ingredient. That drives me nuts.
Yeah, so she comes at it as a trained chef who has just she's just one of my favorite people in the world to spend time with. So it's such a pleasure for me to work in the kitchen with her. Otherwise, I would never do it. So she comes at it as an amazing chef with just the most beautiful eye. I come at it as a normal person who works and has 3 kids, wants to get dinner on the table in less than 20 minutes, only wants to go to one store, and wants the ingredients to most likely already be in my house. And so our symbiosis is that we're just the opposite, as most great relationships are.
Yes, and it really, the book, I think, really succeeds in that way because it's a twist slightly on things. Like there was like a milk braised chicken with lemon, and I'm like, I roast chicken all the time, but this was like slightly different.
Yeah, I could never go out there and ask people to buy a cookbook that was full of recipes that they've already seen before.
Yes.
And I like to be original in thought. And also, a lot of times when you are taking steps out of a recipe to simplify it for myself and for people, you're going to lose some kind of tried and true aspects of that dish, and we'll add something that's easier. Like, I'm not going to use kale. I'm going to add spinach because spinach will braise easily.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Also, too much kale out there.
Okay.
We could all take a break.
I never want to see another kale smoothie in my life.
I know.
On the internet.
Now there's the smoothie bowls. Have you seen that? It's like,
I love smoothie bowls.
Oh,
I actually love them. I'll
do
probably
you
hate
make them?
myself
It
for saying
seems
that in
like
a year.
I'm going to spend an hour making this beautiful thing only to then slurp it up in one
Yeah,
sip.
I don't make them, but when I'm on the road or when I'm running around, I will definitely grab a smoothie bowl.
Okay.
But I will not make them because I don't even either make a smoothie or make a glory bowl. I have the glory bowls in my.
Okay.
Somebody's laughing, and I know why you're laughing. It's a glory bowl is a chia pudding.
Let's talk about this. You're very prominent on Instagram and always sharing what you're eating and doing, and I love seeing that intimate look into your life. But there's also on Instagram so many of these crazy food trends, and it seems like in the book you don't play into those.
No.
But are they tempting? I mean, clearly, I'm looking at.
Like, give me an
phone, I'm like,
example.
like the smoothie bowls, like this beautiful over-the-top thing. Also, like, the milkshakes are so big now. Those, like, have you seen those crazy black tap milkshakes?
Yes.
With, like,
Actually,
a million
you told me
ingredients?
about it a couple of weeks ago. Yes, that is funny. Well, again, the polar
Charcoal.
opposites, right?
Yeah.
You have your crazy decadent sundae, and then you have your smoothie bowl.
And avocado toast, I mean, nothing's more popular on Instagram. than,
Right.
like, the healthy, plain.
It's really funny,
Simple
these
toast.
trends that we're following or not following.
Yes.
But, I don't follow trends in any way, shape, or form ever. So I wouldn't, exactly why I won't know what kohlrabi is. It's like I'm like against trends.
The new one that is so strange is charcoal in food, so it turns food black. Apparently, that's a big health thing.
Yeah, charcoal is very good for you. It
Yes.
cleans out all the things that we have poisoned ourselves with in the environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a compelling case for it.
Nice. Right? Doesn't it clean? It just cleans everything out. I don't know.
Yes,
I probably shouldn't say.
that's okay.
I imagine it's good for us.
Yes. So now that this book is out, we've spoken a little about this, but how do you see your future in cookbook writing and food? Is it something you want to continue doing?
I wasn't going to do this book. I was done after the Can't Cook book. I felt like I had written the book for everyone I know that doesn't know how to cook and has great jobs and is, really, really busy with life and just never took the time to learn how to cook. So the Can't Cook book, I was like, this is my swan song. And I just kept having this nagging thing in my head that a book like this would help me. So I went on to write Food Swings. And at this point, I don't really know. I'll keep putting recipes up on my website. I don't know. I don't have a goal or a plan.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I work. My love is the Good Plus Foundation, and so that's where I focus my energy as much as I
Yes.
can. And then if I get a great idea, and it always is an idea that will help people. Like my first book, Deceptively Delicious, was helping people eat more vegetables by putting it in their foods through fruit and vegetable purees. Second, a follow-up to that. Third, the Can't Cook book, helping people who cannot cook and are terrified of cooking. And then this one was really, as I've said, about helping people really quiet that voice in their head of what they want to have versus what they should have.
Oh, yeah, that voice is there all the time for me.
I know. It's funny, right?
It
Why
is.
do we have that time?
I know. It takes up so much time at the end of the day.
Where did we get that time? Were cavemen doing that? Were people tilling the land and growing vegetables and harvesting? Were they thinking about this too?
No, but they didn't have smoothie bowls, thrown at their face all the time.
Right. It's a problem of excess.
Yes, it is.
And it's weird. And I'm into it. And I want to talk about it.
Yeah. And I think something else that the book is great at is you can come at this from any different price point. And I know that's something that's important to you because a lot of these, especially the wellness world and all of the foods, have become quite prohibitive to a lot of people.
Yes, we discussed this. How did I have a chia bowl for $11.50 in New York City? And it's just this like, I don't know it's this wellness movement, and God bless it, it's so important, but it's taking on its own aesthetic as this high-end pursuit. And it shouldn't be that way, because everyone should be able to be part of this wellness community, and everyone should be able to feel like wellness is not a precious, highly stylized experience. It's for everybody.
It shouldn't be a privilege.
No, and it feels like a privilege now. It feels like, I don't know. It's a problem of economy and, of course, where we are. But for me, it ties back. And food is so personal anyway to people. How you grew up, and what was your mom or your dad's attitude about food when you were growing up and cooking? Like, what was dinner like, and how did that experience affect you as a cook or someone? What is your relationship to food? It all has to do with what happened when we were young. And so it's really interesting that we're at this high-end platform now for wellness.
Yes.
I don't say interesting in a good way.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And how, talking about the relationship with their parents to food and how important that is, how do your children interact with you while you're cooking? Are they a part of it?
Yeah. I would always read when I was a young mother 100 years ago, but I would always read how you were supposed to cook with your kids. And that's really important because it I don't know, it's good on every level. And I'm such a control freak that I didn't actually enjoy that, because I was always, thinking, oh, they're going to get cut or they're going to get burned, or, there's lots of things to worry about in the kitchen with little kids. And so I just kind of kept them around and kept them sitting on the floor, playing on the floor while I had pots and pans around. And I never really put pressure on them to cook with me. Mm-hmm. Subsequently, they all cook. Well, my daughter does not.
Called out.
She's a whole category of eater, or not eater. It's just the person I wrote Deceptively Delicious for.
Okay.
Doesn't like vegetables. So anyway, so my boys just make themselves breakfast now, and they love to make pancakes and stuff on the weekends. Like, no pressure from me, no stress. Really, since the election, I think I talked about this, I'm having no stress around food in my house. I can't, there's so much stress in the air and in everybody's lives who are just, just trying to, I always say, I'm just trying to get to, I have no lifestyle. I'm just trying to get to the drugstore to get, the Aquaphor, whatever it is that I've been trying to get all week long. And so I just think that it's fascinating.
It's so interesting how comfort food and what that means. I mean, when you say comfort food, maybe it's the vice of this big chocolate cake, but I think comfort food, especially right now, which is a stressful time for so many people, has taken on this heightened meaning.
Yeah. There is a funny movement also going around about comfort, right? And how self-care is, big and important for us right now. And it's funny. It started with comfort food, and now I think people are accepting the fact that, it's okay that we really take care of our bodies, or we should be taking care of our bodies. Comfort food is, I think food in general and thinking about food is comfort for people. It's like a pattern that we have in our heads. And so comfort food, whatever you're eating, is certainly part of it. And that moment when you go to the pantry door and you press the thing and you're taking out your chips, or you're about to take out your chips, what is that thought that we have right before we open that pantry door? What makes you do it and what makes you not do it? I'm so interested in that muscle.
Yes. I'm so interested in even the idea of thinking about it as comforting. We talk about how do you have the time to start debating what you're eating and where you're eating. I mean, I listen to the chatter all over New York. It's this restaurant, that restaurant. And of course, it's part of my job, but that offers such probably a wonderful distraction from so many other things to people.
Sure.
And it is important.
It is important.
But we love talking about it.
Yeah.
So much.
Is everybody in the world talking about food?
No.
Right. Who is talking about it and why? Right?
Yes.
I don't know. Food is at a place for me, and that it's an obsession that we have now. And what does that come from? Too much of it, or not enough, not busy enough in our brains with something else? Like what? But yes, food is comforting, and yes, it's one of those things that we all love to think about, but it's also torturing us.
Yeah. It can, I think for me, it's a curiosity about other people and cultures, and especially dining out in New York offers these amazing opportunities to do that.
You would know at Grub Street.
Yes.
My Bible, of course. Yeah, no, it's food is a fun thing, and it's a reason why people get together, and it's so important for people to sit down at a table. It's interesting, people aren't really shopping in stores anymore. It's sort of tragic for retail, but the boon to restaurants and bars is kind of excellent. So those things because you're sitting in your house and you can text your friend all night long while you guys are watching TV, down the street from each other, but instead going to a restaurant and enjoying being together and being out is so important. So that's what's great about New York City, is that we have this ability to eat world-class food anywhere.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, we're like killing ourselves after we go out and have this amazing meal, and then the next day you're like, okay, I have to not eat, or I have to whatever today. Take it easy today.
Yeah, it's like, what does satisfaction look like?
Yeah, so you go to this great place and you have this great meal, and then there's guilt associated with it. So it's interesting.
Well, I think your book tackles a lot of these issues really elegantly.
Thank you. Well, there's lots of recipes.
Yes.
125 plus recipes. Half of them are virtuous, and half of them are fried chicken, chicken wings, chocolate cake, lasagna, the stuff you kind of eat when you want to party.
Do you have a baked fried chicken that I really need to try?
Yeah, See, we had the fried chicken, and then we put the
baked
baked and virtue
fried,
section. Yes.
Okay, good. Well, I'd like to open the questions up to the audience.
Hi, Jessica. Hi. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the book.
Thank you.
So I don't cook at all. My diet consists of basically New York food staples like pizza, burgers, pad thai, bagels. So I'm trying to incorporate not that that's not real food, but like healthy sort of eating. But grocery shopping is scary to me because I don't want to waste food. It will rot, and I'm scared about that. So what do you suggest, like for someone like me that wants to start cooking more? What kind of food should I keep in my fridge, in my freezer, in my pantry? What are the essentials, like maybe like 6 or 7 things that like I could use for several meals throughout the week?
Okay. Well, I would start with a baseline of an olive oil that you like and feel comfortable cooking with. There's great ones in every price point. And there's great low-priced ones, and there's, obviously, I'm like scared of using really fancy olive oil because I don't want to waste it myself, but, and I would keep salt and pepper and olive oil in my house at all times, and lemon. And then and also I would focus on preparing food and not cooking right away. Like prepare really nice things for yourself that don't require cooking, especially if you're not comfortable. I have in my book, so sorry to be so pushy, but they're called breakfast toasts. But I eat them all day long when I've kind of cooked a meal for my kids or my husband, and then I sort of, whatever it is, I got busy and didn't eat myself. I make these toasts when I don't feel like cooking that are so delicious, and you sort of start to feel like a hero, and when you haven't spent time preparing food before. So I would start with something simple like the breakfast toasts or any toast that you find.
Do you have a toaster oven? I think that should be.
Do you have an oven?
Purchase.
Yeah. So are there shoes and newspapers in your oven? Yeah. Take the shoes and the newspapers out and see if it turns on. Yeah. And also, you don't need a toaster for some of them. You can use a Wassa cracker.
Hi, thanks so much for being here. You talked a little about people's relationship with food. I wanted to know if you had a prominent childhood memory that got you into food.
Yes, I have several. I have the story I told before, which is, I didn't have a choice in learning how to cook. My mother said, you have to help me while I'm coming home from work at night. You need to get the lasagna in the oven or the baked ziti in the oven for me. And here's how you're going to do it. And she would leave me a Post-it on the not only the dish, but also on the refrigerator. And my mother would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, despite having to go commute an hour, and start prepping dinner for us. And like her commitment to our family having dinner together was, I didn't appreciate it then like I do now. And also, you know, that my parents always fed us really wholesome foods because they didn't have a lot of money. They weren't shopping at fancy stores. They were shopping at co-ops and garden shares because back then it was really economical, which it's totally different now. But so those are I think those are really what shaped me. But also I had like the greatest grandmother in the entire planet, no disrespect to anyone else's grandmother, but she was the most incredible human. But she had her whiskey and she had her Manhattan every night at 5 o'clock. And she had tons and tons of butter on everything. And she enjoyed her life so much every single night. And she cooked for herself, even when my grandfather died. So I just associate food with family.
Hey, Jessica. Thanks for being here. Is there any foods that perhaps that you wouldn't want to, touch, like, cook as well?
Well, I don't say this in a high-minded way. I say it in a real way that relates to people's health. I don't like processed foods, and I don't like how these big food companies and the chemical companies that support them, I don't like how they are running this country, and they're tricking people. And I think it's wrong, and I think it's, one of the reasons why so many people in this country have health issues. So I would say processed foods and companies that know they're producing food that isn't good for people, I don't go near those. I would never support those companies, and I don't buy them.
Good. Well, thank you so much for being here, and congrats again on the book, and thank you to Build for having us in their studios.
Thanks to you for doing this.
Oh.
I dragged you out. And thank you.
Yes.